Hello, hi, my name is Jelly. I think a lot of you probably already know that, but just in case anyone's new here, hello, hi, my name is Jelly. This is one of the models I've made as a free community model for a charity event that we did this year for Gamers Outreach. We actually have two models. We have this model and the frog model, but I'm going to be guiding you through with the octopus model today. I'm going to be guiding you straight from the very beginning to the end, hopefully. This particular video is going to be going over the initial setup, so this isn't going to be covering Mix It Up. This isn't going to be covering all of the, like, changing the colors and all that kind of stuff. If you're more interested in that, you're going to want a later video. This one is just for your initial setup and how to get the tracking working well for you. So all of your very straight away stuff that you want to get sorted. First of all, we're going to go into how you load your new model. So if you've gone into the Discord, you should see that you can download two models. There'll be the frog model and the octopus model, right? What you want to do is download that and you'll find it zipped. So when you open the zip, you should see octo model or frog model. Copy that whole folder, copy the whole folder. So whatever, keep it the name the same, don't change anything, just copy it. And then what you're going to want to do, once you open VTube Studio, which is the program we're using right now, double click, find the little red man at the top, and go into import your own model. If you click this one, it'll bring up this box and you're going to want to say open the folder. That will show a folder of all the models that are in VTube Studio so far. So for you, probably what there'll be is all of the default models, and then you can paste in either your octo model or your frog model. So just paste it straight in there with all the rest of them. Once you've done that, click OK. Get back out of that. You won't have a model here like I have straight away. What you're going to want to do is go back into the red man, scroll across, see if it's there. It often isn't there the first time, and if it's not, click X, double click, go back into the red man, scroll across, see if he's there, and if he's there, brilliant. So for me, I've got you right there. Then we exit out of that, and the model should look for you exactly how it looks for me right now, because it'll actually have my settings on it. So I'll have all the settings that I've put on the model. So it'll work really well for my setup, but it might not work as well for your setup. So what we're going to go through now is some of the things you can do to make the model track better for you. So if we double click, and we're going to go into the pink cog now, and we're going to start on this screen. So this is the screen where you can see your face being tracked, or you should do if you've got a webcam set up. So I have my webcam up here. I have my tracking level 4, which is what I tend to recommend for people just starting out. It doesn't support winking, but it does tend to even out a lot of the face stuff. So maybe start at level 4, and then we can always go up to level 5 later, as well as like my FPS and all of that kind of stuff. You might also need to turn your camera on. Mine automatically turns on, but if it doesn't, you can turn it on here. Talking about now this part up here, where you can see it's tracking my face, going left and right with my face and everything like that. I have a pretty high confidence level, so it's actually capturing my face pretty well. Things you can do if you are finding that the capturing your face, it's not capturing your face as well, or the capture is a bit funky or jittery or something like that. Make sure that your face is well lit, first and foremost. Having a backlight on you, for instance, will put your face in a lot of shadow, and that does just make it harder for your camera to track it. So first of all, make sure that your face is relatively well lit. I'm not saying put like a spotlight on it or anything, but just so that you can see your features if you were to turn your webcam on normally. Secondly, check your webcam and the quality. If it's really grainy, if it's a very old webcam, it actually might affect the tracking. If you are struggling with tracking because you have an older webcam, an option might be to have a little look at getting it on your phone, so you can get VTube Studio on your phone. Have a little look at that, because if you have a better phone quality than your webcam quality, that might be a good option to help capture your model. I'm not going to be going over that today. I am going to be specifically sticking to webcam, but it's something to think about if your webcam is of a low quality, or it's a bit older, or it's just grainy, or if it's just really grainy. Okay, with that being said, there are some other bits on this page, but I'm going to avoid them for just now. I'm going to come back to them later. For now, what we're going to do is go over to the very top and go to the man with the cog next to him and click that. I've gone halfway down, but there we go. It should put you in at the top, not the bottom. Okay, so up here you have your profile picture. You don't have any animations or anything to worry about there, so we can just skip that straight away. We're going to come back to customizing the model later. For now, it's just for the tracking. I'm going to move myself over there as well. Here you have your physics. So right now I have it at default, which is this is your default physics. So honestly, you do get a lot of wibble out of it. It's not like you're completely static. Now, if you up your physics, it can make the jiggle look a little bit chunky. I'm going to ask you to focus on my eyes for a second when I up this, because that's going to be the most dramatic one. Do you see how they kind of ping when you go up on the physics? So you want to be really careful if you are up in your physics. So just double check to see if things are getting really jumpy on stuff like that. Personally, I think the default works just fine for this model, but that's what it does. If you up or lower your physics, the wibble will become less, and the wibble will become more. But again, after a point, it does tend to look a little bit silly. Wind strength basically is if there is a wind blowing your model, as the name suggests. If you have a really high wind strength, your physics will just be in movement all the time. Again, things to consider is that you also have physics in your eyes, so that also means your eyes will be in constant movement. Just bear that in mind. You can up it, but think about it. And dragging physics is just dragging the physics. I don't know how better to explain it. It makes the physics drag. All right, next. We're gonna go past physics now, and I'm gonna leave them at this. This is how you'll receive them as well. And we're going to go into all of this. So everything again has been set up perfectly for my setup, but that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect for you. So here you have left and right. This is like you're shaking your head like, no, no, no. And so that's your left and right. So what I would suggest doing is when you're looking at these numbers, you don't want to touch the output, but when you're looking at the input here, if you turn all the way to the left that you would normally turn. So for me, that's looking at my second monitor. So I'm looking at my second monitor now. And when I'm looking at that, it's about around 18, I'd say, around 18. And then when I turn all the way back, let me look at my sewing stuff, like my scissors. Okay. Yeah, those are my scissors. So I would say that I'm just about hitting just below 20 and minus 20. So for me, 20 and minus 20 is really good because I'm not going to be looking much further than that. What that also means is I don't have to turn my head very much to start getting the wobble going, which for a model like this is really good. So having it a max of 30 would make it less obvious, having it at 20 makes it more obvious. If I was to then go down to 10, for instance, and do 10 and 10, I really shake my head. Like, it does not take anything to shake my head. For me, that's a little bit low, but it's something to keep in mind. The other thing is your numbers do not have to match. While I'm putting 20 and minus 20, you might have 20 on one side, but then only 10 on the other. Or maybe 30 on one side and 10 on the other, depending on where your camera's set up. While I do tend to recommend having the camera straight onto you because you'll get the best tracking, you could have it at an angle if that's what you need for your setup. I'm not going to stop you. Okay, next. We have up, down. Similar. It's nodding. Now this model doesn't really have a neck, so you don't really see the nod as much. Generally, I find that during streaming, I put my head up and down a lot less and I go left and right. There's not really any reason for me to be like nodding extensively in the middle of stream. So I have this number a lot lower. So I have this at 10 and minus 10. Again, you might have an extra monitor which is above you. Maybe you have stacked monitors. And so for you, it's very normal to look up to like 20, but for me, it's not. So if you say you look up a lot more during your stream, well, you just move this one and put it to 20 instead of 10. And now it takes a lot more to hit max height because I can look higher. For me, I'm not going to leave it at that. But if you wanted to, you can change that, make the numbers bigger. Lastly, for those ones who have face lean rotation, this is like touch your ear to your shoulder. Touch your ear to your shoulder. Not quite that dramatic, but that's the kind of head movement you're doing. And again, I find that I don't generally do this action very naturally. So I might do like a little bit, but it's like, you know, cocking your head to the side. I don't feel like it's like you do that often. So I have the number a bit lower so that if I even start to cock my head to the side, it goes the whole way. Again, might not be to your preference. If you would prefer it to be a little more difficult to cock your head to the side, put the numbers up. If you need it easier to cock your head to the side, put the numbers down. Just make sure you do lots of testing so it doesn't look too jumpy, because if I go really dramatic for a second and I do 2 and minus 2, you'll kind of see like, if you go too low, it'll end up looking kind of like this. Again, I don't imagine anyone will need it quite so low, but there we go. It, you know, is a good example of what to do. Next, eye open. So this is quite a difficult one, and it is very different from person to person. For me, I can open my eyes wide to about a 0.9. So this is me opening my eyes like surprise, like, oh my God, my eyes are so open right now. But that's kind of hard. So I prefer just to have like a slight, surprise. And for me, that would be about a 0.8. Like when I'm doing just a little bit of surprise, I hit like a 0.85, 0.8. So I do solidly hit a 0.8. So I have this upper amount at 0.8. When I am neutral, I'm at about a 0.6. So that works out well because it means I have my neutral face and my surprised face. And it might not look super different, but it makes a big difference when you're like trying to emote and stuff like that. And then the 0 is eyes closed. So for me, my eyes close pretty solidly. When I rig the models, I actually put eyes closed at 0.2. So if you're hitting less than 0.2 here, then your eyes will be closed. Yeah. If you are hitting more than 0.2, which you might need a friend to look over your shoulder, or you might need to record it, if you're closing your eyes and you're hitting, like, for instance, 0.3, oh, that's fine, just put that to 0.3. For me, I'm fine at 0. I think most people are, but on the off chance it is, like, say you have very thick glasses or there is something obstructing the camera, you might need to put this up a little bit. But for now, I'll keep that there. Smiling. Keep your mouth closed. Smile. You see how I could just about hit 0.9? So I have 0.9 as my highest. I always recommend to do it with mouth closed because mouth smile open is much easier to hit, like, ah. See, I'm hitting like a 1.5 now. But for close, about 0.9 is my limit. If, again, you're someone who doesn't smile quite as wide or the camera's not picking up as much, you can put that down. And it'll just make it easier to achieve, like, the maximum smile for your eyes. So the difference between eye not smiling and eye smiling is your cheeks go into them. It makes your cheeks go up. That's what you're looking at here. Again, I'll keep mine at the settings that work for me, but you have a little fiddle around. Make sure that you can get your cheeks going into your eyes when you're smiling, and it just makes you look a little bit more cheerful, really. It makes the model look more cheerful. Then what you're going to want to do is take eye open left, eye smile left, and just copy the settings to eye open right and eye smile right. So just make sure that the settings here match here, and here matches here. You just want them to match, because otherwise one of your eyes will open easier than the others, or one of your eyes will smile more than the others. You just want them to be the same. Okay, eye X. I lower this a little bit, so this is your pupil. Going left, right. So not the head, just the pupil. So I put this to 0.8 and minus 0.8 just because it's a little bit easier to hit. Again, my pupils don't tend to actually go that far because I tend to move my whole body if I'm moving. That's me personally. But just to have a little bit so that your eyes can move. I know it's a little bit odd because you have like little dots for eyes, so it's like not quite like a normal eye, but you can always record yourself looking left and right. See if you're hitting 0.8 and minus 0.8. If you are, great. If you're not, just lower those numbers a little bit. If you're lowering those numbers a lot to get it to work, you can always up the smoothing. So the smoothing just means it takes a little bit longer to get from one to the other. That way, if you're going down really, really low, which you shouldn't have to, but if you are, you can make it smooth by just putting this up. Just be a little careful because when you go too high on smoothing, it actually can prevent the extremes on both sides being achievable at all. I'll show you this with mouth in a minute, but yeah, just be a little careful, do some testing. Eye, I personally don't change because with my face, I tend to find when I look down, I often close my eyes anyway, so, but that's because I got big puffy cheeks. That's how it goes. It also will always close my eyes when I smile because I got big puffy cheeks. All right, next, we're gonna go down to mouth smile. So this one's a little bit complicated. Again, it has my settings in it right now. So keep your mouth closed, happiest face. Oh my God, why can't I do a happy face? Okay, that'll probably do. I already have mine at 0.9, that works well for me. But then on the other side, angry face. Angry. So for me, my angry face is around a 0.2. Personally, I don't like to go higher than a 0.2 because, again, it tends to leave me looking angry all the time. Like if I say just go up to like a 0.4 or something here, now my resting face is angry, which, while accurate, I don't necessarily want it looking like that on my VTuber models. So I try to avoid having this whatever this number is not being my resting face. So if I just rest my face now, my resting is about a 0.4. So for instance, having this at a 0.4 would be a mistake because I'll always be angry. Keeping it just a couple below, but still within reach, like I can still quite easily reach a 0.2. That's good for me. This one can take a lot of fiddling because everyone's very different and how cameras capture you are very different. So this one can take a little bit of a while, but it's super worth it so that you can get the full range of expressions from like the happiest happy to like the grumpiest grumpy. Yeah, you want both. And then in the same vein, this one's much easier though, to be fair. Open your mouth. Close your mouth. Are you opening and closing your mouth? I do have the smoothing up on both of these. This is what I kind of wanted to show you though. So if I have the smoothing at about 30, that means the mouth opens a little bit slower. But if I put this up, say, just put it to max, do you see how the mouth never like quite manages to get open because the smoothing is so intense that it's like I just can't reach the same level of mouth open? Whereas when I put it down to 30, for instance, I'm not talking, oh god, don't put that on. I'm not talking any more dramatically, but the mouth is moving a lot more dramatically. So yeah, you just don't want to go too high, but a little bit's good because it means you go cycle through the mouth movements a little bit more naturally. And that is actually it for this model. Once you've gone through all of those, you've actually gone through all of them. There is nothing more in this part to do, unless you are still having some issues, in which case might I take you over back to the camera tab and down to this bit here. So if we're looking at tracking settings, you actually have some overarching tracking settings, and this is how I set mine up. So my mouth open sensitivity, I find it very easy to open my mouth. If I move this down, I cannot open my mouth. If, however, you are getting stuck with your mouth open sometimes, it might be useful to put this down just a little bit. That being said, I do not get stuck with my mouth open. The tracking doesn't do that to me, so I always have this at 100. Smile sensitivity, if I move this down, I will never smile now. This is it. This is the happiest face you get from me. If you are stuck at the happier end of the scale, which to be honest, I actually should move this down because mine often is, you can move it down a little bit just so that it's easier to do the full range of emotions. I always keep it at 100 though because I like being a happy little chappy, but you can move it down if you'd rather have less smiling. Brow sensitivity, you don't have eyebrows. So I don't think you're going to have any issues. But in case you're curious, again, it does the same thing. If you have it at 100, the brows move quite easily. If you have it at 0, the brows do not move at all. The same kind of thing. But you don't have eyebrows, so you should be okay. Now going back up to the top with eye open sensitivity and blink sensitivity, these are two of the ones that I have actually altered. So, oh my god, there's a dog barking. Heck. So these are the ones where they kind of help you get the in-betweeny eye kind of sizes, so like what I'm doing right now where I have like not fully open, not fully closed. If you have eye open sensitivity the whole way up, for instance, it's really hard for me to get those in-betweeny ones because my eye just wants to be open or closed. So having it down a little bit lower just means that like I can focus or like can sit at some of the in-between parts of blinking, which just gives you a bit of a higher range of emotion. Same with blink sensitivity up here. So they just kind of help. Again, if I have it here, I'm just not gonna, yeah, so do you see it like clamp shut where it's like, it just hits at a point and goes, well, I don't like that. I like being able to do the in-betweeny ones. So for me, I have it a little bit lower. This is really useful to look at as well if you're wearing glasses while you're having your face captured, because the face capture with glasses can be a little bit extra janky. It's already janky, but this can make it more janky. So have a little look at your eye open sensitivity and your blink sensitivity and checking those two. And sometimes by having those a lot lower, you won't blink as easily, but your character can do more in-between facial expressions. That being said, if maybe you're stuck at an in-between facial expression, maybe your eyes are like always like this open, right? So they're not opening as much as you'd like. Rather than fixing it here, I would still suggest to go over to here and have a look at it in this kind of area. So if we go down to eye open, right, maybe you want this one to be a little bit higher. So like, okay, you're getting stuck at a lot of in-betweeny kind of eyes. We'll put that up to 1. Oh, no, wrong way. Put that down, not up. My bad. Excuse me, I'm confused. Put that down. And it will force your eye open more. So see how now my right eye is more open than my left eye? I mean, vice versa, if your eye is stuck open all the time, you could lower it. Sorry, I got it backwards there. But yeah, if you're struggling with your eye being only half open all the time, lower this number. If you're stuck with your eye being fully open all the time and you can't lower it, you could always up that number. I'm going to put mine back to a 0.8 though, so that's about where I like it. And that is about everything as far as the basic setup of your model goes. The next thing we're going to do is talk about coloring your model and mix it up a little bit more. So we do have more tutorials, but if you're getting a model set up for the first time, this kind of overlaps everything else we're doing, and it's a good overview of how to go through all of these parameters and set everything up for you. Oh, there I go. Once you've done it once as well, you can actually just apply it to every model after this. I don't necessarily recommend doing that because it can overwrite the previous riggers settings, and everyone does stuff a little bit differently. But at least for this model, once it's done, and you don't have to worry about it again. Your model should move about as smoothly as you see it on screen. I say as I am frowning. It should be quite simple. You should get lots of good jiggle, all that kind of stuff. I will say if you're having any issues with it, please do reach out. I will respond to messages and stuff like that, and I'm always happy to help. I can't speak so much for other people's models because obviously everyone's model and rigging is a little bit different, but if it's one of my models, I can give pretty good advice most of the time. Alright, I'm gonna go record the next tutorial. Good luck with setting up your VTuber model, and thank you again for all the support we had during the charity event that meant that we could make these. I really appreciate it. Alright, speak to you soon. Goodbye!